Good afternoon, Keller Williams Premier. This is your on-site broker, Karen Clements, and this is PID Notice Requirement Part 2. Why are the revised forms dated November 2021? The Texas legislature passed a statute requiring sellers to provide a new notice to buyers when selling property located in a public improvement district, PID. The statute is effective September 1st, 2021. So TRAC had to approve these forms for emergency use so that sellers can be compliant to the new statute on September 1. They had to do this because they did not have the time to go through their normal process and promulgating a new form. They approved it for emergency use effective September 1. But they are also doing their normal promulgated form procedures, and so under those normal procedures, they will not be able to officially approve the form until the next TRAC meeting, which will be day 1, November 8, 2021. So you must absolutely use these new forms as of September 1st. What is a PID? A PID is much like a MUD. PID, like MUD, is really a tax for a particular purpose. Assessments, infrastructure services for a community paid for by residents of that community, such as water, sewer, road, and utilities. They are small jurisdictions created by the city or county or a local government for various purposes. There are 2 different forms of these special purpose districts that the state of Texas allows. There are a great many of them. The most commonly known districts are water districts, water improvements, and water control, which we also know as MUD. Where to find the PID notice form? They are filed by the PID. Each PID is required to maintain and file with the county clerk a service plan, which includes information about the PID. When a PID next updates their service plan on or after 9/1/2021 per statute, they must include a copy of the PID notice, completed with the required information. That's where we get notice from. The service plan and completed PID notice will typically be publicly available on the PID's website. PIDs are required from this statute to file a service plan within 7 days of creating a service plan. They have to file a service plan in county clerk records where the property is located, and it must be recorded. And the notice has to be filed with it. Title will pick up in that legal examination. Title will pick it up in the legal examination of the property. They will use that notice to provide the notice at closing. So the buyer is going to get this notice twice. They're going to get it by the seller prior to execution of a contract, and they're going to sign again at the closing table. Titles get MUD off tax certificates. PID, like MUD, is really a tax for a particular purpose. So it is the taxing companies that provide the title company certificates at closing so they can ensure there are no unpaid taxes. Where to find if property is in a PID? The MLS is a good place to start. You're going to search for a property address and look under the jurisdiction tab, jurisdiction section of the tax records. So you're going to go to your matrix. You're going to go to public records, scroll down to realist tax, search your property address. When the tax information document comes up, scroll down to the jurisdiction section, and then there, just like you would find MUD, you would find their PID. Tax information on the MLS is imported from County Appraisal District records, also known as CAD. The CAD records will show if a property is in a PID and the name of the PID. You may also search the website of the CAD where the property is located. You may also search www.taad.org go to Resources, and then scroll down to Texas CAD's websites. Completing the PID notice form. Because sellers are required to provide the notice beginning 9/1/21, but PIDs are not required to file a copy of the completed notice until they next update their service plans, there may be a period where it will be necessary to search online for the information required to complete the TREC PID notice. If it is not found in CAD, the title company may not find it either. So a deeper dive is going to have to be done to get all the information for the PID. Agents may have sellers sign the Notice of Information from Other Sources, RTXR 2502, when assisting a seller to complete the PID notice form. The TREC PID notice requires the following information to be completed. 1, the property address. 2, name of the public improvement district, also known as name of the PID, the name of the municipality and city council or county and commissioner's court that approves and levies assessments, such as Harris County, Fort Bend County, Montgomery County, and the statute the PID was created under, which will either be subchapter A, Chapter 372 of the Local Government Code, or Chapter 382 of that same code. Now, let's not get scary here. Chapter 382, Chapter A, Chapter 372 Local Government Code should be inserted in the PID notice, but this is a local government code and chapter. However, there's only one main chapter, and that is Chapter 372. For all of the cities and all of the counties in Texas are under 372. In 2009, a portion of 372 got pulled out and they named it Chapter 382, but it's very, very limited in scope. And guess what? It is only limited to 2 counties in all of the state of Texas, Bexar County in San Antonio and Comal County in New Braunfels. That's it. So thank goodness, here in Houston, all we need to worry about is inserting Chapter 372 into our forms. There are currently even only 3 PIDs located in Bexar County that are created under this Chapter 382. I have them listed here, but I'm not going to go into that since we're just going to really be concerned with areas that are in our jurisdiction. So for us, we are Chapter 372, very easy. Determining if a property is located in a PID. Again, the MLS is a good place to start. You're going to go to your matrix, Public Records tab, the Realist Tax tab, search for your property address and look under the Jurisdiction section or Tax Info tab. Tax information on the MLS is imported from the County Appraisal District records. The CAD records will show if a property is located in a PID and the name of the PID. You may also search the website of the CAD where the property is located. You may also search www.taad.org, resources, Texas CAD's websites. Step 2, determining the name of the municipality, city council, or the county commissioner's court levying an assessment. The website for the PID will provide the name of either the municipality or county that authorized the PID and approves and levies assessments. For example, it would be Harris County or Fort Bend County. An MLS or CAD website may have a direct link to the PID website. If not, an internet search of the name of the PID will locate the website. The PID website may be part of the city or county website. In most cases, in our MLS, in our matrix, under the Realist tab, most of the time, just like the MUD, when it's located there, there's always a live link. Usually most time we go hover over the MUD, you click on it, it brings you to the MUD. link, and the same will be for a PID. PID service plans. You may also search online for the PID service plan. The service plan for the individual PID will contain the necessary information and be publicly available on the PID website. You may also go to www.houstontx.gov/council/committees for a list of any other PIDs that are in the works or what City of Houston has coming down the road. Let's go take a look at our one of our contracts and then the actual addenda itself. Let's take a look at the 1 to 4 family. You'll notice the new 1 to 4 family will have the promulgated date up at the top right, November 8, 2021. And of course, the TREC form number at the bottom. When it says November 8, 2021, you'll know you're at the correct version and the revised version of the contract that you need. Page 4 of the 1 to 4 family is where you'll see the notice for PID, or the seller, the notice to all parties regarding PID. And that is going to be on page 4. Sorry, let's see, page 4. Item 7 right here, public improvement districts. This is part of E, title notices. We have item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 under title notices. It's number 7, public improvement districts. If the property is in a public improvement district, seller must give buyer written notice as required by 5.014 property code. An addendum containing the required notice shall be attached to this contract. So the statute says it's a notice, but this sentence right here says that we have to attach it to the contract, and so it must be an addendum. Our section 22 has been revised. Agreement of parties. This contract contains the entire agreement of the parties and cannot be changed except by their written agreement. Addenda, which are a part of this contract, are, and you check all applicable boxes, and you can see right here on the right-hand side, they have added the addendum containing notice of obligation to pay improvement district assessment, or PID. Now let's look at our PID. Here is your new addendum or notice. Right on the top right corner, a promulgated date of November 8, 2021. Right-hand corner, it's TREC number 53-0. Addendum containing notice of obligation to pay improvement district assessment to says insert name of municipality or county levying the assessment. You're going to get that from your realist tax when you click on the PID. It'll tell you what county or municipality. Comma, Texas, concerning the following property. Insert the property address. Next it reads, as the purchaser of the real property described above, you are obligated to pay assessments 2, and it says, insert name of municipality or county as applicable. It's going to be the same information you filled up in the section above. Comma, Texas, for the costs of a portion of a public improvement or services project, the authorized improvements in parentheses, undertaken for the benefit of the property within, and it says insert name of public improvement district. You insert the name of the PID. In parentheses, the district created under, and then it says insert subchapter A, comma, chapter 372, comma, or local government code or chapter 382 or local government code as applicable. We are chapter 372. Then it goes on to read, an assessment has been levied against your property for the authorized improvements, which may be paid in full at any time. If the assessment is not paid in full, it will be due and payable in annual installments that will vary from year to year, depending on the amount of interest paid, collection costs, administrative costs, and delinquency costs. The exact amount of the assessment may be obtained from, and it says insert name of municipality or county as applicable. It's the same information you submitted in the other two blanks. The exact amount of each annual installment will be approved each year by insert name of the city council or county. Again, just the county again. In the annual service plan update for the district, more information about the assessments, including the amounts and due dates, may be obtained from city council or court or county. It says insert name of municipality or county as applicable. Your failure to pay any assessment or annual installment may result in penalties and interest being added to what you owe or in a lien on and the foreclosure of your property. So as you can see, this works very much like a MUD. This is where the signature of the seller will be provided and the date. This, when the seller signs it, this is his giving him notice to the buyer. This is going to be very important for the listing agents to know that this has to be provided before execution of a contract. So as the listing agent, you need to make sure you upload this into your MLS documents, along with the other disclosures that you upload. Because the same exact principle as the MUD requirement. The seller has the same requirement if he's in a MUD or in a PID. It must be given to the buyer prior to execution of the contract. So as the listing agent, it's your responsibility to provide it to the buyer before everybody signs that contract. So best business practice is have it up on the MLS and make sure they have it when you're negotiating an offer. And before all parties sign, you want to check, cross your T's and dot your I's and make sure this is part of everything that's been signed prior. Then below it says the undersigned purchaser acknowledges receipt of this notice before the effective date of a binding contract for the purchase of the real property at the address described below. It's telling the buyer that they're acknowledged by signing this, they acknowledge they received this before they bound themselves to a contract. This is buyer's receipt of notice. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Exemptions and limits of liability. Exemptions. The requirement to provide the PID notice does not apply to a transfer under court order or foreclosure, by a trustee in bankruptcy, by an owner to the lender, or by a trustor to a beneficiary under a deed of trust sale, court-ordered foreclosure, or deed in lieu of foreclosure, by a fiduciary in the course of the administration of a decedent's estate, guardianship, or conservatorship, or trust. From one co-owner to another of an undivided interest in the property, to a spouse or blood relative of the seller, or to or from a governmental entity, or of only a mineral interest, leasehold interest, or security interest. Limits of liability. Title companies, real estate brokers, and examining attorneys are not liable for damages for failing to provide the notice to the buyer if the local government failed to file the PID service plan with the county clerk, or the incorrect notice was unintentionally provided. Sellers, title companies, real estate brokers, and examining attorneys are entitled to rely on the accuracy of the service plan last filed by the PID. Information taken from the service plan is conclusively presumed to be correct as a matter of law. Promulgated by TREC. TREC has promulgated a new PID notice form, addendum containing notice of obligation to pay improvement district assessment, TXR 1955. Use of this form is voluntary, meaning license holders can use this form or use another notice that meets the requirements of the statute, such as the notice filed by the PID with the service plan. Here's the caveat to that. TREC has promulgated this form with the exact verbiage that came from the statute. And secondly, provided two sections where the parties of the transaction can sign. The first section is where the seller can sign. And that gives us proof that the seller has provided notice and has complied with the statute. The second has provided an area for the buyer to sign, and this shows receipt. So then we have that the buyer has proof that they have received said notice. If you rely on the notice from the PID, those sections for the seller and buyer to sign may not be on that form, as the statute does not require them to do so. So here at Keller Williams Premier, we want to make sure you use the TREC promulgated form. All the forms and the PID notice are available today. They were available yesterday, and they ought to be used going forward. Let's take a look at some frequently asked questions. If, after execution, the buyer receives a notice and signs for it and acknowledges it, can they still terminate? Property code states yes. It's the same ruling as the MUD. The seller is required by statute to give this to the buyer prior to execution of contract. If not, guess what? The buyer can terminate the contract. So regardless if they receive it after and sign for it, they can still terminate the contract. And how long do they have until they can terminate? Forever, but actually up until closing. In the event a contract of sale or purchase is entered into without the seller providing the notice, the purchaser is entitled to terminate the contract. That's it, period. It's the same language as the MUD notice, and that is clearly written into the statute. Does this PID notice have to be sent in every type of transaction? The answer is yes, it does. Next question. Does it have exclusions like the seller's disclosure notice has? Yes, it does, and those exclusions are listed in the statute. However, our policy here at KWP is always disclose, disclose, disclose. The best business practices of TREC and TAR and NAR are disclose, disclose, disclose. Can the agent fill out this form for the seller? Yes, we can. Just like the MUD, it is our due diligence to help the seller be compliant. Sellers do not know how to find this information, so it falls on our shoulders to do our due diligence to make our seller aware of the notice, locate if the property is in the MUD or the PID, and fill out the notice for them, and make the seller aware of everything that's in the notice, and that he's to provide it, and that he signs that he provides it. And it's also to make sure the seller doesn't omit it and fall in compliant with the statute. We help them with their responsibilities. It's the seller's responsibility, and it's our responsibility to help them be responsible. If we use the wrong forms, do we do an amendment? So say you do an executed contract today and you use the old 1 to 4 family. Can you do an amendment? Absolutely not. You must rewrite the contract onto the new forms. That's always the case when TREC revises contracts. You have to let all parties know that no other terms are to be changed. But we're doing this, we're rewriting the contract onto the current version of the forms to protect all parties. Agents may have the seller sign the notice of information from other sources, or TXR 2502, when assisting a seller to complete the PID notice form. And that would be just best business practice. So that's the 411 on PIDs. Make it a great week, and I'll see you guys soon.